I'm dreaming in dreams bigger than me, taking my time, giving to me, paint my life into a masterpiece, coloring it how I want it to be.
Hi guys, so good afternoon, welcome back to my magical world. It's me, Frostbite, your favorite celebrity here in the Philippines. It's still August 28, 2024, and we are already on our first chapter. So this is entirely a new chapter and I'm still out in another universe. So hindi pa tayo nakakabalik sa ating reality. Okay, so right now, there's a bit of an like it's a small article, so let me just read this for you. Okay, so listen up. By the way, it's 4:28 in the afternoon right now, and again, it's Sunday, so I hope you are all enjoying your Sundays. Yan. So the first chapter is discover your calling, the life's task. So you possess a kind of inner force that seeks to guide you toward your life's task. What you are meant to accomplish in the time that you have to live. In childhood, this force was clear to you. It directed you toward activities and subjects that fit your natural inclinations, that spark a curiosity that was deep and primal. So, in the intervening years, the force tends to fade in and out as you listen more to parents, peers, to daily anxieties that wear away at you. So, ito yung sinasabing like, you are basically like a computer program. So, what you are right now is like a combination or like it's a collective output of your environment, the people, your mentor, your parents, your siblings, the people that are close to you, who you surround yourself with. So it's basically who you are right now. So you that's why you are also capable of reprogramming yourself if you happens to live or to your upbringing is not entirely good. Okay? So this can be, hindi pa ako fully in my senses, guys. So parang ano pa tayo? Nasa oblivion. Basta, hindi pa ako okay. So this can be the source of your unhappiness, your lack of connection to who you are and what makes you unique. The first move toward mastery is always inward, learning who you really are and reconnecting with the innate force. Okay, knowing it with clarity, you will find your way to the proper career path and everything else will fall into place. It is never too late to start these process. Okay, so we all have our own timeline and too many things, like of course what you wanted to accomplish in this lifetime. So hindi mo kailangan you don't need to compare yourself to other kasi most of the time it happens. So our first chapter is the hidden force. Yan, so start na tayo. We're on to page 21 and 22. So toward the end of April 1519, after months of illness, the artist Leonardo da Vinci felt certain that his death was only a few days away. For the past 2 years, Leonardo had been living in the Chateau of Caux in France, the personal guest of the French king, Francis I. The king had showered, wait lang guys kasi I don't know, kinda dim. So, the king had showered him with money and honors, considering him the living embodiment of the Italian Renaissance, which he had wanted to import to France. Leonardo had been most useful to the king in advising him on all kinds of important matters. But now, at the age of 67, his life was about to end and his thoughts turned toward other things. Okay? So he made out his will, received the holy... Wait lang, there's an airplane. So, padanin muna natin. Okay. Continue. But now at the age of 67, his life was about to end and his thoughts turned toward other things. He made out his will, received the Holy Sacrament in church, and then returned to his bed, waiting for the end to come. So as he lay there, several of his friends, including the king, visited him. They noticed that Leonardo was in a Lobat na tayo, guys. We need to be fast. So as he lay there, several of his friends, including the king, visited him. They noticed that Leonardo was in a particularly reflective mood. He was not someone who usually liked to talk about himself, but now he shared memories from his childhood and youth, dwelling on the strange and improbable course of his life. Leonardo had always had a strong sense of faith, and for years he had been haunted by one particular question: is there some kind of force from within that makes all living things grow and transform themselves? If such a force in nature existed, he wanted to discover it, and he looked for signs of it in everything he examined. It was an obsession. Now, in his final hours, after his friends had left him alone, Leonardo would have almost certainly applied this question in some form or another to the riddle of his own life, searching for signs of a force or a fate that had brought about his own development and guided him to the present. So, Leonardo would have begun such a search by first thinking back to his childhood in the village of Vinci, some 20 miles outside Florence. Focus, guys, kasi there's a bit of a noise here. His father, Sir Piero da Vinci, was a notary and staunch member of the powerful Borghese, but since Leonardo had been born out of wedlock, he was barred from attending the university or practicing any of the noble professions. So, ganun yung culture nila before. I mean, the way life. Pag unwed. His schooling, therefore, was minimal, and so, as a child, Leonardo was left mostly to himself. He liked most of all to wander through the olive groves around Vinci or to follow a particular path that led to a much different part of the landscape. Dense forest full of wild boar, waterfalls cascading over the fast-moving streams, swans gliding through pools, strange wildflowers growing out of the sides of cliffs. The intense variety of life in these forests enthralled him. So one day, sneaking into his father's office, he grabbed some sheets of paper, a rather rare commodity in those days, but as a notary, his father had a large supply. He took the sheets on his walk into the forest, and sitting upon a rock, he began to sketch the various sights around him. He kept returning day after day to do more of the same. Even when the weather was bad, he would sit under some kind of shelter and sketch. So parang niya to, na passion with some kind of obsession. So he had no teacher, no paintings to look at. He did everything by eye, with nature as the model. He noticed that in drawing things, he had to observe them much more closely and catch the details that made them come to life. So once the sketch a white iris, and in observing it as closely, he was struck by its peculiar shape. The iris begins as a seed, and then it proceeds through the various stages, all of which had drawn over the past few years. What makes this plant develop through its stages and culminate in this magnificent flower? So unlike any other, perhaps it possesses a force that pushes it through these various transformations. He would wonder about the metamorphosis of flowers for years to come. Alone on his deathbed, Leonardo would have thought back to his earlier years as an apprentice in the studio of Florentine, Artist Andrea Del Verrocchio. He had been admitted there at the age of 14 because of the remarkable quality of his drawings. So he actually is indeed a very good artist, which, you know, very rare during those times. So Verrocchio instructed his apprentices in all of the sciences that were necessary to produce the work of his studio: engineering, mechanics, chemistry, and metallurgy. Leonardo was eager to learn all of these skills, but soon he discovered in himself something else. So along the way, may something new that he kind of like discovered. So he could not simply do an assignment. He needed to make it something of his own, to invent rather than imitate the master. One time, as part of his studio work, he was asked to paint an angel in a larger biblical scene designed by Verrocchio. He had decided that he would make his portion of the scene come to life in his own way. In the foreground, in front of the angel, he painted a flower bed, but instead of the usual generalized renderings of plants, Leonardo depicted the flower specimens that he had studied in such detail as a child, with a kind of scientific rigor no one had seen before. So let's continue this some other time. For now, we're done. So thank you guys for listening, and thank you for helping me make this world a better place for all of us and for the future generation. I will, what do you call this? I will make cuento with the happenings, not today, but maybe tomorrow, or I'm not sure, guys. Basta, focus and, subscribe. Bye. See you later. Again.
Won't stop till I see what I want to see.